Well, welcome everyone. I always feel a little embarrassed when people say, I have all this meditation experience because I was just reading last night about great yogis, and I mean, I've tried this life, but I can't say I have any great, realizations, but I do enjoy to do the practices. And so this was supposedly going to be 4 days retreat in the countryside, and I hope we can do that again. I'd love to see the countryside there in your place near Lama. And well, thank you for the opportunity, because it gives me the chance to do Tara 3 times, and it's very important, I think, now to be doing Tara practice. His Holiness has said that it's very good for the pandemic, and I'm not in France now because the pandemic is still raging, and I think it's getting worse again in Britain. So because of the India, I don't know how many of you know, but it's quite dire in India and Nepal now, where I have friends who are really desperate. And in fact, I just came back from a trip visiting people in the UK, friends of mine, and everyone seems to be somewhat, Jeff used the word desperate. I mean, even people who've had it okay, I think it's been really a hard time. And so I know that Tara helps us personally and helps the world. I mean, I think many of us, when we meet Tibetan Buddhism, we're immediately drawn to Tara. And all of the Lamas take Tara as their practice, particularly the Chudamani Tara and the white Tara. Lama Zopa has been emphasizing that the Kurukuli Tara, who is the powerful Tara lately, and Vajrayogini is also an emanation of Tara. So, and I think what's special about Tara in these degenerate times is that she was a woman. The story goes eons ago, like we can't, millions of years ago. I don't know how long ago, but a long time ago. And her name was Yeshe Dawa, which means, the pristine awareness moon. And she practiced very hard for many lifetimes and became realized. And so then, even then, it was a patriarchal dominated male society, and they said, oh great, you should pray your next life to be a man so you can benefit sentient beings. And so she vowed to every rebirth until she became fully enlightened that she would take rebirth as a woman to help women and to help sentient beings in that form. And so she attained enlightenment in that form. And Tara has a very close connection with Avalokiteshvara. And Tara's Pure Land is also in the Patala Pure Land with Avalokiteshvara. And another legend is that when Chenrezig Avalokiteshvara was viewing the condition of the world, he was so sad that he cried, and she was born in one of his tears. So we have stories about her, and I'm sure so many of us are drawn to Tara. So what I'm using today, what you have, is a Tara sadhana that was put together by Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa quite a long time ago, and then I have changed it slightly for us to use. And yeah, so maybe that's enough of an introduction. I mean, I think probably, is there anyone here who's never done this practice before? Maybe I'll check. Yeah. Okay. Are you completely new to tantric practice as well?
J'ai juste fait une retraite Vipassana cette année.
Okay.
En France, en Charente.
Yeah. Anybody else completely? We have 3 people, looks like.
Oui. Hello, hello Paula.
Yeah.
It's the first time for me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then
Yes.
then
For me
I
too.
okay, great.
For me
Well,
too.
then I think we have some very old students here, like Elizabeth and Leia. You have to turn your mutes back on, yes, who've been doing this longer than I have. So we're very fortunate to have these what do we say, mature students, I guess you could call us, to do with us today, because I mean, they've been practicing longer than I have even. So I think when we first met Lama Yeshe was, I mean, he was many things, but if anything, he felt like Tara, because he had such a feminine energy and such a caring way of making everyone feel special. Every single person he spoke to, it was like he was speaking to his dearest child, which I think is a way that Tara was. You know, he's very, very kind. I mean, he could be wrathful too, but mostly he was kind. And so for me, you know, Lama was always Tara. And so if there are new people here, I guess I should explain. I mean, I have a little time. We'll go through it. I won't talk so much tomorrow, but I think the most important thing to understand in tantric practice is the idea of taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. And when we take refuge, it means that we are turning our mind towards the Dharma, that when we have difficulties in our lives, or even throughout the day, that we are beginning to understand and to turn our mind towards inner solutions rather than looking to the outside world. And it doesn't mean that we don't look to the outside world. Obviously, if we're sick, we go to the doctor. And if we are troubled, we talk to our friends or we go to a therapist. But there's also this inner world where what the Buddha taught, I think most of you know, is that our true nature, our innermost nature, is of pure love and pure calm, and what we talk about emptiness, which means it's beyond this ego, this self that is actually at the root of our disturbance, whether it's emotional disturbance or physical disturbance, or so it's the fact that I believe so strongly in myself. And so when we take refuge, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we can transcend the situation. Even today, we can transcend and find and relax into our own true nature, which is, like I said, true love, true spacious awareness, which if we don't understand emptiness, we can at least begin to think about the fact that when someone disturbs us, or when we feel very upset about something, there's a strong feeling of me, or even when we have strong attachment. And what the Buddha taught was that it's not that that doesn't exist, but that emphasis on it, that the Lamas use the word, that grasping at it, that tightness is what causes us problems. And so refuge and bodhicitta are the means through which we begin to relax that tightness, that sense of I, that allows us in that relaxation. And when we open up to receiving what they call blessings, then quite often, not only is our disturbance, is our affliction relaxed, but also we are open to our own inner wisdom that will find solutions. But when we worry, then it just makes things worse. And so refuge is sort of like the antidote to worry and anxiety and depression and these things. And so when we take refuge, we're taking refuge in the outer teachings, the teachings that Buddha taught, because it's through that we begin to change and recognize our own nature. But without that refuge, without those, we can't get it from a book, just reading a book. We actually need a teacher, because there's something that happens in a human interaction that opens our heart much more than in a book. And so when you see all this emphasis on guru devotion in Tibetan Buddhism, it might put you off a little bit, because you think, oh, it's like hero worship, or oh, it's like theistic, like another, theistic religion. But really, it's creating a relationship with someone who has gone through the process of letting go of that self, of that I, and opened up to this great, big, vast experience of love that's there all the time, if we can just learn to connect with it. And so why we do these sadhanas, why we do Tara, is to experience that, our true nature. And so the first thing we do, we always take refuge, because that's like saying, Alex Berzin says, I'm going in a safe direction. That rather than being stuck in my worry and anxiety and pain, I'm going to acknowledge that, yes, there is another way of being. And I'm going to learn that through the teachings of Buddha, through my teachers, through my friends, and through the Buddha himself. And so in this case, the Buddha and the teacher are manifesting in the form of this green, beautiful goddess, Tara. And so when we take refuge, it's like we're opening ourselves up to the idea and to the experience that we could let go of this little mind that makes us feel separate, that makes us feel worried, that makes us feel afraid, or makes us feel angry, Because when we open up to the experience that resides in our heart all the time, it's there all the time. We just have to recognize it, that we use this practice to do that. And then the bodhicitta idea is what opens the heart even more, because when we all have the experience that when we do something for somebody else, we feel better. So imagine what it's like if you're saying, I'm doing this for all sentient beings, of which there are limitless zillions and billions of sentient beings. So that creates a very strong, powerful energy in our nervous system that will enable us to continue to let go, because the path is through love. And we can all imagine someone that we can all remember, somebody that we've loved. And so when we get to the bodhicitta part, what we do is we just think about the people that we love and extend that to every single sentient being, and then just relax into that feeling of being in love. Not necessarily, relationship love, but love, what they say in Greek, the agape love, the love for everyone we know that we love, that kind of love. It doesn't have to be the exciting, what we call romantic love. So I hope is that good enough, Elizabeth? Do you think? Okay, I can refer to her. So then now I think we can start. Oh, I'll just say one more thing, that one of Tara's specialties is, they say, she releases us from the 8 great fears. And so the 8 great fears have a kind of outer and inner. So I'll just tell you what they are. So the first one, and you can imagine that this was written, people have been practicing this for thousands of years in India and Tibet. So not that long ago, even a couple hundred years ago, or even in some places today, one of the fears is of lions and tigers. So, and that inner meaning of that is pride. And then the second is elephants. And I know even when they were building those monasteries in South India, they were being people got hurt by elephants. And that's ignorance. And then, of course, this is very relevant to people in the Western United States now, is the fear of fire. And that's anger. And snakes is jealousy. Being a slave is greed. Afraid of fears is wrong views. And floods, which sometimes I think you even have floods in France, is attachment. And the fear of spirits is doubt. So working with this practice, then we can eliminate pride and ignorance and anger, jealousy, greed, attachment, doubt. And I think most importantly is the wrong view. And that is the view that I'm separate from other sentient beings, that I'm alone, that I have fear. These are these views, because when we relax into the nature of Tara, we're never alone. You know, and I think the isolation of this pandemic has been the greatest situation, not only isolation, but then, you know, being in a tiny building where you can't get outside, or being with your children all the time and trying to teach and work. And so I think this is why His Holiness has recommended Tara, because it's good for all these things. So let's start now. And am I talking too fast, Nadia? I can't see. Is the translation okay? Yeah. 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 Yeah, just put your hands up if I'm going too fast. But now that we're doing the sadhana, I'll go very slow. Okay. I'm sorry, I forget. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So we'll start with this prayer from Shantideva, which I think is a nice way to start. So let's just sit for a few minutes. And let's imagine that we're all in one big room together. And we can imagine that actually, we don't need to imagine, but if we just think of all the people together here, there is like invisible threads of interconnectedness that will connect us through this Zoom. So we can imagine we're all connected, and then around us is a golden circle of light, protecting this little virtual bubble from any obstacles for today. And we can also remember all of the friends and family that need help. And of course, all sentient beings. But in particular, you may know people who need special prayers at this time. And one thing Zoom has taught me is that it does work. And we imagine our father on our right and our mother on our left, whether they're dead or alive. And we can even imagine all our grandparents and family all around, and people who give us problems in front of us. And then we can also imagine, I hope you've all have a photo of Tara in the space above us. And if you wish, if you're more familiar with the practice, you can imagine the whole 21 Taras around her. And before we start with the recitation, let's just take a couple of minutes to watch our breathing. And as we do the breathing, we can imagine that as we breathe in, we're breathing in that protection of Tara. And as we breathe out, we relax and allow our minds to settle down. Imagining the comforting vibration of Tara to be like the sun shining on you when you've been sitting in the cold and the sun comes up from the clouds and you feel warm and soft inside. Feel the breath going into your belly. Make sure your pants are relaxed, or your dress, whatever you have on. Let your stomach be completely relaxed. Imagine that as you breathe in this warmth from Tara, it goes goes all the way down to the base of your spine and goes down through your legs. And if your mind is particularly agitated, just imagine that as you exhale, that energy is going down through the base of your spine into the earth. We can think of Tara as also like an earth goddess, a Mother Earth goddess. And feel the breath expanding your rib cage. Breathe right up under your collarbones and between your shoulders. And feel relaxation, relaxing energy going down your arms and out the crown of your head. Straightening up your spine. Letting the breath lift up the spine. And as the energy goes into the head, you notice that the chin slightly comes down. The tongue touches the roof of the mouth. And the upper palate, the back of the mouth, it feels like it's opening and relaxing. It allows the back of the neck to also relax. So we can motivate this practice so that all sentient beings can find the true nature of their own body, speech, and mind, beyond concept, beyond ego grasping, what we call enlightenment. Where they effortlessly, as enlightened beings, we effortlessly manifest to benefit sentient beings, always in the right place at the right time. And also to help the whole world recover from the pandemic and for the situation with the climate and all the wars and the disharmony in the homes of people and just everything everywhere. So we can continue to breathe in the blessings of Tara. It's helpful if you can to be aware of your breath, to keep you grounded in your body. It helps to not be distracted. And making contact with the center of your heart. So we're imagining Tara, and we can just think that there's a direct connection between Tara's heart and my heart. Sending, just allowing a gentle kindness, feeling, relaxation, and love to permeate our being every time we breathe in and out. And sharing that with all sentient beings. We don't have to think about, see the beings around us, just know they're there. It's more about feeling, just feeling that heart opening. Feeling that go through your body and out in all directions. We'll start with the prayer, and if you want to just listen, that's okay. May all beings everywhere, this is from Shantideva, may all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by the virtue of my merits, and my activities that benefit sentient beings. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored upon finding repose. May the naked find clothing. May the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. And whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So now we do the refuge. I think Lama Yeshe said that for Western people, it's more beneficial to meditate on the meaning of refuge than to recite it many times. So we'll do it that way. So traditionally, we put our hands together in reverence to the imagining Mother Tara, who's the essence of all the teachers, all the enlightened beings. And she totally understands Dharma, and the Sangha is our community that helps us. So I and all sentient beings, as fast as space, from now until we reach the essence of supreme enlightenment, we go for refuge to the glorious pure Lamas. So then we think about our teachers and their qualities and how much we would love to be like that. So compassionate, completely realized emptiness, so skillful. And so we can imagine from Tara, these light rays and nectars are pouring into us, bringing us the conditions that we can have pure devotion to the path, to be like our Lamas. With a longing to be like that. We go for refuge to the enlightened, victorious ones, particularly Buddha, Tara. Just imagining that we're being just bathed in calm, peaceful, loving experience. We go for refuge to the pure Dharma, beyond 8 worldly concerns. And we go for refuge to the Arya Sangha. Those are the beings who've realized emptiness. And at this point, whatever experience we have of emptiness, we relax into that because that's the ultimate refuge. you think, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And then, especially in order to benefit all my mother sentient beings quickly and more quickly, I must achieve the precious state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. Therefore, I'm going to undertake the yoga of Venerable Arya Tara. So then we can imagine that this nectars and rays of purifying and enhancing energy from Tara comes into us and then goes out and touches all sentient beings because of our great wish. So take a moment to just think, wow, I really want to get out of samsara and be Tara for all sentient beings. Have to do it as quickly as possible as my karma permits. May all sentient beings have happiness in the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness that knows no suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of attachment and hatred for those held close and distant. So then I'll read the visualization of Mother Tara, and you can just listen if you prefer. In the space before me, on a lion throne, lotus, and moon disk, sits Gadhiravani Tara, who is inseparable from my root guru. Above her is Venerable Atisha and all the lineage lamas. She's surrounded by 21 Taras and so forth, the Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, heroes, self-realizers, and oath-bound protectors. And if that's too complicated, just think of Tara. She's the embodiment of all those. Imagine Tara as emerald green, shining emerald lights out to all beings, sitting on a lotus and a moon disk. She is a manifestation of the omniscience, love, and compassion of all the Buddhas. Tara is in the nature of light. She's not solid nor concrete, but light like a rainbow. Her left leg gathered in symbolizes her complete control over her winds, over all mental afflictions. And her extended right leg indicates she is ready to get up and help all sentient beings at a moment's notice. Her left hand is on her heart in the refuge mudra, granting refuge to all beings, and her palm facing out, the thumb and ring finger touching, and the other three fingers raised. Her right hand is on her right knee, showing the mudra to bestow sublime accomplishments. The palm out, the thumb and index touching, and the rest of the fingers pointing down. And in each hand, she shows the stem of the blue upala flower. So then we can make a short mandala offering. And so as we do this, we imagine if you like to see the old Indian cosmology of Mount Meru and the four continents, or if you prefer a more modern version, you can imagine just the whole universe and everything in it that you're offering to the Buddha Tara. So maybe for the older students, we'll do this in Tibetan because they have a connection with it. O saji buki Jukshin me to drum, Ram Ling Jini Gan Body San Ye Jing Du Mi Te Uargi Drokun Nam Dak Jin La Chopa Shon. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine as the Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. Please, precious Guru, please bless my mind and the mind of all sentient beings to be free from all the wrong views, gain all the realizations, and to be free from all the outer, inner, secret obstacles and hindrances. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Devas and Titans bow down with their crowns at your lotus feet. I prostrate to the liberating mother who liberates from all fortunes. At this point, we can recite the 21 Taras. Or I guess that's all right. Yeah, we'll do it once. And if there's time later on today, I can tell you a bit more about the 21 Taras. So I'm going to recite them in English. And I don't know how the French, how long it does in en français. But you're welcome to do it in Tibetan or however you want. It's just a few pages long. It's like about 4 pages from now, where we are. Yeah. Om Jetsun Ma Pagmadroma La Chaksalo. Homage Tara swift heroic, Kazai lightning instantaneous, from rovement stamens of the Lord of Three Worlds, stillborn lotus. Homage she whose face combines 100 autumn moons at fullest, blazing with light rays resplendent, has 1,000-star collection. Homage golden blue one lotus, water-born and adorned, giving effort, calm austerities, patience, meditation, earth sphere. Homage crown of Tathagatas, actions triumph without limit, relied on by conquerors' children, having reached every perfection. Homage filling with tutare, whom desire direction and space, trampling with their feet the 7 worlds, able to draw forth all beings. Homage worshipped by the All-Lord, Sakra Agni Brahma Maru, honored by the hosts of spirits, corpse raisers, Gandharvas, Yakshas. Homage with their tray and pay sounds, destroy on foes' magic diagrams, perfect pressing left at right, and blazing in a raging fireblaze. Homage to a very dreadful destroyer of Mara's champions, she with frowning lotus visage, who is slayer of all enemies. Homage at the heart, her fingers adorn her with 3 jewel mudra. Light rays masses all excited, all directions wheels adorn her. Homage she so joyous, radiant, crowned emitting garlands of light, mirthful laughing with tutare, subjugating Mara's devas. Homage she able to summon all earth guardians assembly, shaking, frowning with their whom sign, saving from every misfortune. Homage crown adorned with crescent, moon all ornaments most shining. Amitabha in her hair knot, sending out much light eternal. Homage she mid wreath ablaze like eon ending fire abiding. Right, left, left, and joy surrounds you. Troops of enemies destroying. Homage she who strikes the ground with her palm and with her foot beats it. Scowling with the ledger whom the 7 levels she does conquer. Homage, happy, virtuous, peaceful. She whose field is peace nirvana. Without having omen Zopa of the great fall down destroyer. Homage she with joy surrounded, tearing false bodies asunder. Praise with human knowledge mantra, arrangement of the 2 letters. Homage to her with seed letter of the shape of syllable, whom by foot stamping shakes the 3 worlds, Meru, Mandara, and India. Homage holding in her hand the dear mark moon of Deva lake form, with twice spoken Tara and Pe, totally dispelling poison. Homage she who gods and their kings and the Kanaras do honor, armored in all joyful splendor. She dispels bad dreams and conflicts. Homage she who 2 eyes bright with radiance of sun or full moon. With twice Hara and 2 Dare, she dispels severe contagion. Homage full of liberating, powered by the set of 3 natures, destroys hosts of spirits, yakshas, and raise corpses supreme Ture. These praises with the root mantras and prostrations thus are 21. So these praises are very powerful for manifesting. One of the things that Tara does is she takes care of anybody who's dedicated to attaining enlightenment, that when you need things in the material world to help you on the path, it can't be just for worldly reasons, but when you need things, and particularly we need to get the vaccine out around the world, and we need to help all the people who, especially in India, it's so desperate and fearful, and everywhere in the world, then when we recite these 21 praises, it makes a difference. And I can say in my own life that I feel it really does work. And I'm sure some other of you have that experience as well. So when we recite these praises with faith, then I don't know how it works, but somehow this prayer, these praises and prayer, as we can see now, it does actually work. I mean, humans have been doing things like this for centuries. So we make this prayer to Tara, and then afterwards we make this request. So we can read that together. Venerable Arya Tara, great treasure of compassion, grant your blessings to increase all favorable conditions, to clear away every obstacle, that all migratory beings may swiftly enter the city of eternal joy. Venerable Arya Tara, great treasure of compassion, grant your blessing to increase all favorable conditions, to clear away every obstacle, that all migratory beings may swiftly enter the city of eternal joy. Venerable Arya Tara, great treasure of compassion, grant your blessing to increase all favorable conditions, to clear away every obstacle, that all migratory beings may swiftly enter the city of eternal joy. So not only are we doing this practice for the pandemic, but also for the Dharma, to purely spread throughout the world and be preserved, because it's very thin these days, especially the Mahayana teachings. So we dedicate for that. So then just take a moment for your own personal requests to Arya Tara, and renew the feeling of her in the space in front of us. So Tara receives our requests, and through her unending love for us, from a white Om at the crown of Aryatara, white nectars and rays pour into my crown of my body. And we imagine our bodies completely filled with light. It's in the nature of bliss and emptiness, light and nectar. So go back to where we started with breathing into the whole body, as if your body's hollow. It can be filled with white light. So that with the breath comes pouring into you this white light into your belly and down your legs and down your arms and out your, filling the whole body and then radiating out to all sentient beings. Completely purifying the causes of sickness, and all the obstacles to achieving enlightenment. Purifying all the things that all the harm we've ever done to others with our body. And whatever you know of emptiness, just relax into that space. Or feeling just space and love. If you have a particular illness, that white light can go directly there. The organ that's sick, or your skin, or just general body. Feel the whole body radiating with white light. Body like a crystal. Restoring our life energies. Restoring our 5 elements. Restoring our ability to sit and meditate comfortably. Creating the cause for us to experience Tara's holy body as our own. And then in order to purify our winds, our speech, we imagine a red ah at Tara's throat, pouring into our throat. And again, this white color changes to the red color. Breathing in, filling every cell of your body with red light. Particularly if we are high sugar tantra practitioners and all the 72,000 channels are purified. All our emotional stuff comes through the winds. We experience bliss and emptiness. And every harm we've ever caused to others in all of our lives with harmful speech, whether it's just senseless speech or the harm that speech can cause. Completely being purified. And we feel our relaxation and the vibration, like we're lying in a hot bath. And receive the blessings of Aryatara's holy speech, and plants the seed for us to also have Tara's speech. Become oneness. My speech becomes oneness with Tara's speech. My winds become oneness with Tara's winds. And then we imagine that Tara's heart is a tum, but inside the tum is a hum. And from that tiny hum, dark blue light rays come into our heart, into the heart chakra. Like a laser light blasting throughout all our channels with this blue light, purifying all the grasping and inherent existence of myself and other. All the doubts, all the wrong views, all the low self-esteem, I'm not good enough. All the shame, guilt, all these obstacles that prevent us from experiencing my mind as Tara's holy mind. All our ignorance, hatred, overwhelming desires, jealousy, just general disgruntledness, fear, worries, fear about the future, shame about the past. Just melting into this blissful, spacious awareness, pervaded by blue light. Feeling it all throughout the body, allowing the mind to be experienced the whole body. Body and mind is one, and that's empty, like space. Experiencing the body, mind, like the sky. If a thought comes, it's just a cloud in the sky. No need to follow it. No need to push it away. Just in that vast space, the thought just has no ground to catch you. So feeling the whole body, big, wide open, blue light. My mind is purified. I don't have to grab that thought and run with it. I can just let it be, dissolving in space. And then we experience all three together, white, red, and dark blue in the three places, the crown, the throat, and the heart. The body's filled with all the colors. In fact, we can see it as rainbow colors if we like. And we just completely let go, imagining that any any subtle, at the cause is that all the subtle imprints that grasp an inherent existence are completely purified. And not only is my mind oneness with Arya Tara's mind, but also my very subtle mind is purified. And then even more blessings come because we make a request to please let me become like you. So we ask Tara to come to us, and our mind becomes one with Tara's holy mind, body, speech, and mind. And at the same time, this is a request to the root guru, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the form of Arya Tara, to come and abide in my heart. So then, some of us have had initiation or even Chittamani Tara initiation. We can do the dissolution of the guru coming to the crown of our head. So we just imagine that on the basis of our request, please, please, please help me to be of greatest benefit to sentient beings now and creating the cause for enlightenment. Then Tara, the lotus and the moon on which she sits, dissolve into Tara, and she slowly dissolves into the Tam at her heart. It's a bright green, tiny syllable. Or just think of a tiny, bright laser light about the size of a sesame seed that is the nuclear energy of Mother Tara, the essence of Tara, and that comes to the crown of our heads. And enters down through the central channel and sits at our heart. And I believe if you haven't had the empowerment, then you can just imagine that Tara comes and sits right on the crown of your head. And just feel her blessings while the rest of us, we can do a dissolution and arise as Mother Tara ourselves. Just continue, for the new people, just continue to watch your breathing, feeling the energizing at the heart of love and compassion, and letting go, relaxing into spacious awareness. So then from the tongue, manifesting light going out. So from the drop, either in the heart or crown of our head comes the tongue. The light goes out in all directions and times, touching all sentient beings. This comes back, and again we imagine the form of Tara with the lotus and the moon and Tara with her 2 arms, legs, looking at us and all sentient beings with great compassion, or alternately, it is ourselves. Divine pride and clear appearance, or I'd like to say, just feeling the emptiness manifesting as Tara. And Tara's heart, also in a lotus and a moon, is a syllable tam surrounded by the mantra Om Tari Tu Tari Ture Soha. And as we recite the mantra, the light radiates out and reaches all sentient beings, and they all transform into Tara, and all the space becomes the pure land of Tara. So we can imagine all those places where the pandemic is rife, all the Taras are going out, and all the medical workers and all the people suffering are all becoming Taras and being healed, and wherever there's ignorance, that's being turned into wisdom, and where there's hatred, it's turning to love, and where there's anger, tolerance, patience, understanding. So the idea with mantra recitation is, if you can just rest in that pure awareness of myself, the mind empty and manifesting the light body of Tara, then you do that. And when your mind's tired, you recite the mantra. So if you prefer, whatever you want to do is up to you. So we'll recite the mantra for about 10 minutes, I guess, or maybe 15 minutes. We might do it longer. We'll discuss it later, but right now we're going to recite the mantra. And the most important thing is the motivation to heal all sentient beings. If your mind's distracted, and don't worry about it, just recite the mantra and have faith that it'll work. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Om Tare Chu 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 Re Om Tare Chu Om Tare Om Jare Ju Jare Jure So. So the lights go out again from the syllable tongue, touching all the sentient beings. And we imagine they all become Tara. And then the light goes out again from our heart. And we send out offerings of all the wonderful things of this world that we love. Flowers and foods, incense, music, automobiles, houses, beautiful rivers and lakes, mountains, green grass, fresh fruits, people, all the things, cameras, televisions, computers, airplanes, trains, things that keep our houses warm, and medicines. And then we can also offer our inner experiences, good and bad, bliss and emptiness, and all the Taras experience bliss and emptiness, and then they all come and pour back into us. And we feel the shower of flowers blessing us, or maybe a light rain penetrating our skin and dissolving into every cell in the body. Every subtle wind in the body, so that our physical bodies are purified. All the emotional blocks and physical blocks that prevent us from having good concentration. All the bringing us all the blessings, a stable situation in our lives, happy minds, enough food to eat, good friends, good place to live, all that pouring into us, most especially is a realization of bliss and emptiness, and even more special, the mind that is determined to attain enlightenment for all sentient beings. That great love, we're just completely full of it. And then again, we just relax into space. Letting go of subject, object, just being in that space between the subject and the object. It's mind as it is. Taking a moment to if we can, recognize the me, myself, that's doing this practice. I'm sitting here. I'm listening to this person talking. I'm happy. I'm agitated. Wherever I am, the I, me, I. Just look at it for a moment and notice how it appears. Maybe even make it come up stronger a little bit by thinking about something that maybe makes us upset, or something that makes us full of desire. This I, me, mine, this, I want this, I don't want that. If it's at all possible, continuing to think, I want this, I don't want that. There's another little part of the mind. Just look at that I. We wonder how that I exists. It appears to be truly existent. But if we look for it, either by looking somewhere in the body, it's somewhere, it feels like maybe it's my heart, my eye. And we do a short analysis on that, thinking that, well, if it was to exist how it appears, this I, it has to be found upon investigation, it has to be somewhere. So is the I in my mind? Think about it, is the I in my mind? If the I was my mind, then how could it be my mind? It would be the mind's mind. Right? Is I the body? Then it wouldn't be my body. It would be body's body. There's a my that feels separate, doesn't it? It's my body, it's my mind. But if it was separate, then the I, my I, could sit here while I get up and go get lunch. It can't be separate. So it's not one with the body and mind. It's not separate with the body and mind. Where is my I? The I is just an illusion that arises because we have a mind that cognizes experience. I feel this, I'm sitting here. But in actual fact, it just arises moment to moment. Because we have an experience, we believe there's an experiencer. And there is an experiencer. But it's just arising moment to moment. Not truly existent. It's not this continuum as it appears. And because we believe in that, that's where all the emotional afflictions and ignorance comes from. If we can recognize when an emotional affliction arises, that it's just merely an appearance instead of my anger. If we can just stop and breathe, they say for even 90 seconds, without reacting, without making that I come on really strong. You did this to me. If we can just watch it. It doesn't have that power anymore. And we can be kinder, more open, make good karma. And if we recognize that the I doesn't truly exist, then we actually create the cause for enlightenment. So we make a special dedication. Tara, please, please bless me to experience this merely labeled I. And sometimes rather than doing an analysis, if you can just, we can just hold it a little bit and then just watch it disappear. If we focus on the awareness, the spaciousness, an eye loses its grip, just dissolves. Lama Yeshe used the word penetrate. Penetrate that eye. Penetrate like a cloud dissolving in the sky. Wisdom can break it up. It's almost like there's a concrete eye and then there's a spaciousness, and the spacious goes in the concrete and breaks it up. And there's nothing left but love and space. And that's Tara. So then on the basis of that, we arise as a Tara again. And the people who sing Tara on the crown of your head, just imagine Tara comes and sits in your heart and stays there the rest of the day, the rest of the life, blessing you and guiding you and encouraging you and loving you so that you can do the rest for others. So then we'll do our dedication. Gewadi nyoduda agma drolma drugyorne drawachikyan malupa dei sala kopasho. For the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Arya Tara and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Jong Chub Sam Chog Rinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Kyurchi Ke Panyam Pame Payam Gone Gondu Pelwasho. May the Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I might follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best, by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the beings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of the perfect pure Losang Drakpa to shine forever. We also dedicate for the long lives of our gurus, for the Kalachakra Center to benefit zillions of sentient beings, and for Elizabeth, who's been at it for so long that she has a long life and all her wishes fulfilled, and also for all of you who are working in the FPMT and around the world and just in your communities and your families, helping to ease the suffering of the pandemic, and for also Hita to be healed of his traumas, that he can do it however what he needs to do this life. And yeah, so I think that's we have to dedicate with emptiness, sealing with emptiness, rejoicing. Okay, I think that's it for the morning. Is that okay? Does anyone want to make a comment or ask a question or anything like that? I think at the beginning of the next session, I'll just give some tips on mantra recitation, how to make it more accessible and how to deal with the mind when you're reciting mantra. That might be helpful. Because mantra recitation is a powerful way to develop single point of concentration, and also it can be a ground for developing awareness, you know. So, but I think maybe I'll talk about that next time, because somebody might want to ask a question or something. Anybody? Or criticism, that's fine too. Yeah. Mhm. Doesn't seem like any, no questions at all? Not from the new people? Good. Oh. Okay, well, if there's nobody gonna ask a question, I'll just talk about the mantra recitation bit now, which is before you begin the mantra recitation, it's important to reestablish your bodhicitta motivation, and then also that experience that we have with the purification. And I've found that if I still work with my breathing during the mantra recitation, being aware of the breath going in, the breath going out, it helps to stabilize, keep my mind from wandering all over the place. And simultaneously, you also have the experience of Tara, either in your heart or as yourself or on the crown of your head. I think it's easier to have it if I think it's okay to experience Tara in your heart if you haven't had the empowerment. And so what happens is if you can try to experience your whole body, and as the light's going out from your heart and touching the sentient beings, you can either immediately think that the sentient beings become Taras, and then as you breathe back in, the blessing is coming back into you. Or you can also, one of the things I do is I tend to think about, kind of do a bit of analytical meditation while I'm reciting the mantra. So I might think about people, you know, somebody I know who's really sick. So I'll think of that person and just send the mantra to that person, you know. And then I might change to another person, or I might change to a situation like the climate change situation or the pandemic situation. And so you do, it's a bit like what you do with analytical and stabilizing. So even when you're doing the mantra recitation, you can do a little bit, you know, you have to pay attention to what you're doing, but then you stabilize on that. So there's nothing saying that you have to hold the same visualization the whole time that you're doing the mantra recitation. So if you pick one experience, and you don't even have to see anything, you can just feel it, you can just have faith in it. But if you pick one, and then you notice your mind's wandering and it's doing something else, well, then just come back and reestablish a divine pride, you know, I'm Tara, and keep your awareness in your body. And then you go off and do it again. You know, you might change it to something else, and then you say the mantra with that as long as you can until your mind starts to wander and you're spaced out again. And it's very helpful. The reason I say it's really helpful to continue with the breathing, also to feel the inside your whole body is because we tend to sort of get very dull, you know. We can be saying mantra, you might almost find yourself falling asleep. But if you keep the energy in your head and in your body and kind of breathing and feel your breath in your head and in your arms and legs, and it keeps the whole thing fresh and aware. Oh, am I talking too fast? So, yeah, I'm sorry. I forget, you know. Yeah. And so, yeah, so that's so it's something to experiment with mantra recitation. I mean, you can see what the instructions are. The instruction is to send offerings out, everybody becomes Buddhas, and then the blessing comes back into you. But you can also make it your own, you know. I think it's important with all these meditations to fit them to yourself. It's like in yoga, we learn that that the yoga, I mean, not so much modern yoga, but the Mohans and the way my friend Yeshe teaches, you have because this is a type of yoga, but it's just more breath awareness and visualization yoga, deity yoga, but it has to fit the person. So rather than you try to squeeze yourself into doing this in a way that's uncomfortable for you, then see if you can find a way that's comforting to you with your breath and relax, because the whole point is we have to be somewhat relaxed. And most of us, you know, the first 20 years of our experience with the Dharma, we're very tight, you know. Oh, I have to see this, I have to feel this, I have to, you know, make it, but really the point is to feel like you're just floating down a river in a boat. And the mantra is like a lullaby that's lulling you to relaxation, but not sleepiness. So that's why you have to keep yourself kind of sitting up straight and breathing into your head and stuff. So you find a groove eventually, but it has to be a combination of relaxation and awareness. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but so just work with it. And also, I don't mind, you know, some people have physical difficulties. If you want to get up and walk around during the mantra recitation, that's okay too. So yeah, anything, Elizabeth, you want to add anything? No? Okay, well then I think that that's it for this morning.
Yeah.
And what do we want to do this afternoon? Just normal?
Yeah, I got a message from Nicola. There's no translation for Kandrola, you know.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to just meet at 2 again then? 2 o'clock?
Then maybe yes, we just
Yeah.
and those who speaks English and who likes to enjoy Kandrola, knowing that it will be delayed, you know, later
Yeah.
on. I'm sure of that, you know.
Yeah. And anyway, if we go from 2 to 3:30, then she starts at it starts at 3:15. So the timing is right that you can still do it, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll finish at 3:30, and then if people want, they can do it. So, yeah. Was that okay though? I need some feedback from people. Was that meditation all right? Was it too hard? Was it too long? It's okay. Do either thumbs up or thumbs down. As I'm just talking in space, you know, I mean, it's Zoom. I don't know what's going on here. It's not like I'm sitting in a room with you. I need some, you know, like what?
Thank you very much, Paula. It's
Yeah.
very great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, bon appetit. And
Thank you very much.
yeah, so we see you again.
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Ciao.
start at 2.
Yeah. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you later.
Thank you,
Bye.
Paula.
Yeah.